morning, everybody. My connection isn't super strong, so hopefully this goes well. So for those of you catching the replay, hi, I'm really excited you're here. I just want to honor your participation here, whatever it has been. Just being in this container with the intention to unburden the heart is already true participation. You've participated in the energy of this group. And my hope, of course, is that you've received something of value, allowed you to do that difficult work of unburdening, of getting clear on what your burdens are and transforming them. So that hasn't really been the focus here, of course. The focus has been on the connection calls and a little bit of a perspective on how our nervous systems are built and what it takes to unburden. So I'm waiting a little bit for people to join live. So let's do that together. Let's see if there's anything else before I start the recap. No. And I want to respect your time, the people in the replay. So let's recap. Oh, okay. It doesn't tell me that you're here. Oh, hi, Emily. Okay, great. All right. So let's do the recap. So I divided unburdening your heart, and it's the same thing for healing, the healing arc, if you will, in 3 different components: safety, seeing or becoming aware, and accepting or bringing love to places where before there weren't so many. So safety. A recap here: our nervous system has all sorts of different ways of flowing, and it has the newest version of our autonomic nervous system is called the ventral side of things, and that allows us to connect, allows us to be together in community, and allows us to co-regulate. So in the last year with my son, I really seen this very much at work. Right now he's going through a little hard phase, and indeed, like, he just needs to touch me all the time because of that co-regulation that we're able to do together. So that is for all of us. There's this facet that when we're together, when we're seeing each other, when we're accepting each other, that fosters an enormous amount of healing. So when we're in stress mode, either running around everywhere in sort of this chaos thing or shut down, it can be tremendously helpful just to connect with another human being who is present, who is attuned to their own nervous system, who's able to regulate themselves. And that can just, being in their presence can help you regulate and integrate the things in you that are coming up and being difficult. So with that framework in mind, what we saw is that as people who are very empathic and very sensitive, we might be extra attuned to this social facet of our nervous systems, and extra attuned to when somebody else's nervous system isn't feeling really safe and secure. And that comes with 2 sides, right? One side being really naturally, intuitively able to help people come back to connection, come back to regulation. And what people like this will often find is that total strangers will open up to them. And that's because there's this intuitive knowing that this nervous system can help regulate. But on the flip side, your nervous system is also attuned to all the different stresses, and so you might get a little bit more triggered a little bit more feeling like people's pain is contagious, people's difficulties are contagious. So I'm repeating this right now because this insight, if I'm delivering it properly, should help you to see and accept this facet of how you are built. And this is all humans, and I think there's probably a spectrum of how contagious we are to each other. So because this is simply how we're built, there's no judgment, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing to be fixed. This is just something that we get to take responsibility for. Now, when we're in this place, hi Karine, good to see you. Good morning. So when we're in this safety place and we're in this regulated place, that allows for us to open the door for healing, for integrating more of ourselves, for becoming more of who we are. And so we go through life with our ego, with who we think we are, the story of who we are. And we see ourselves in a certain way, and we've kind of constructed this person that we think it's okay to be in the world. That person is constructed by all sorts of social norms and what we've taken in from what we've been taught is acceptable to be. And so we've got this persona, this way of presenting ourselves and interacting with people. And then there is the whole ocean of who we are behind that. We're so much bigger than the stories we tell ourselves of who we are. That is simply, again, by the nature of how this works. A story can't be as big as the real thing. A story is meant to relay the big thing. But what happens is that we get really attached to this story, and we attach survival to this story in our subconscious nervous systems. And so when we have an event that shows us that story is not completely accurate, that freaks our nervous systems out. Sometimes it can flip us into, wow, I am the greatest of all time. I am amazing. And then something else happens that shows us, maybe not. Then we can flip down into, I'm the worst of all time. I suck. Because the nature of storytelling kind of makes us into this like hierarchical thing, when that is not true at all. That is just a construction. So to be able to integrate that and to expand the story of who we are and stay with ourselves, even when the story of who we are doesn't match what our reality, what we see, what other people see in us, well, we can integrate, we can see more of who we are. And I find one of the greatest gifts for me in spiritual practices is to really let go of that old story of I'm a woman, a wife, a mother, I'm a business owner, I am really nice, and I am really smart, and I'm really like all these attributes that then all of a sudden make my worth or my life contingent on these attributes remaining true. And so a spiritual story is actually, no, I am so much, I'm simply energy expressed in human form, and who I am goes way beyond any story I can tell about it. I'm a soul. I have had past lifetimes. I have these gifts waiting to be expressed. That story is way more full of grace and way more allowing for the full spectrum of my humanity. But even spiritual stories can create simply a new ego story. I am always kind, I am always soft, I'm always zen. And that is not what we want to be doing either. That doesn't help us become the fullest version of ourselves. That just gives us a new whip to hit ourselves with. So when we're in relationship and we become seen. We become seen for something that doesn't fit our own story. That can then become a trigger to integrate more of ourselves. Now, very often people see really nice things about ourselves that we can't see. And that is triggering as well. And that is also something for us to help integrate. And what we talk about most often is, of course, the parts of us that we don't like, the shadow sides. And for them to be seen is a very difficult experience. I've had a few of those last weeks, where, and I'm sure you have too, the energy has felt like it's shaking and rocking and knocking things around. So when these shadow aspects, good or bad, but in this case we're going to talk about the ones we judge, come forward, we can have like this huge crisis of identity, this huge crisis of really self-loathing and self-abandoning and oh yes, that's good. Yeah. So self-abandonment and being like, wow, if this is who I am, I don't love myself. And touching on that kernel of self-loathing and self-hate and demands an enormous amount of courage, because it's so painful and so icky that an alternative strategy that feels only slightly better on the short term and way worse on the long term is to point fingers, is to blame. You're the fault. Because of you, I see this part of myself that I don't like, etc., 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 etc. And we point these fingers and we just cast our ick outside of ourselves and we put it on others. And that doesn't help anybody. That is the old adage of hurt people hurt people. So that's why the third component is so important. The third component is acceptance. It is bringing love there where there has been none. And some of us have grown up in environments where that love was very distorted. There probably was love, but there was people doing that blame game. And there's more for certain people to sort out. Other people have had way more of a template of acceptance and loving. And so there's less to sort out. But the human story remains the same for all of us. For all of us, the more we integrate all our shadow pieces, as well as the beautiful shadows that we keep hidden from ourselves, as well as the ugly shadows we hide from ourselves. And by the way, ugly shadows are never actually ugly. They are simply a way for us to make do and survive in this world, and they come with gifts. And when we shine the light of love on them and shine a curiosity and a willingness to understand and a presence, a healing presence with our shadow, and that is when our shadow can start giving so many gifts. So an example, and let me see if I actually feel okay with presenting this one. I guess so, and I'm not sure what I'm going to say, but one of the big shadows that have come up for me in the last week or two is I have really bigger visions for my business. It is growing in ways that I haven't talked about publicly at all in any way, but it is coming to get the leader in me, the sovereign in me. It's asking for that to show up, for asking for the archetype of the Empress to show up for me. And as I'm holding this challenge, for instance, and having 91 people in this group, even if they're not all their eyes on me all the time, that triggers that little girl in me. That triggers the little girl in me who's learned to efface herself, make sure everybody's comfortable, love everybody, but make herself really small and shirk off her responsibility, shirk off her power. And so that has been very, very forward for me in these last 2 weeks, showing up in tiny, tiny ways. And so my work has been to help that inner child heal, help her just see her, accept her, love her. And the gifts that she has, right? I just told you, like, she loves and she wants to make sure that everybody's okay. The shadow is that she feels completely powerless. The truth, the sovereign new truth, is that there is a few things I can do, the adult me can do. And so that's this work. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to check the comments here. It's hard to accept people who keep in their focus cycles even after we set boundaries, and their toxic cycles. Yeah. It is hard to accept people like that. And here's where we have distinctions to make. We can accept the person, we can understand the person, we can love the person, we can not accept their behavior. And so we can make our boundaries really, really, really clear and say, like, if you keep going through my boundaries, like the natural consequences, we simply cannot be in each other's lives. And a really nice definition of boundaries, I think, is just mind-blowing here. And we're going to go into this in the Healing Presence course because it's central. Is boundaries are the distance it takes for me to love both me and you. So if they keep getting into your boundaries and either you just start hating yourself because that keeps happening, and then you can accept them, that's not right. And so having that distance means maybe really saying and standing clear and being very, very, very clear in that the most loving thing is to say, these are the boundaries and they are not for negotiation. They are what I require to be okay. And they keep being pushed. And I'm not willing to not be okay for your sake. And so I need to take XYZ action. Yeah. Jacqueline says, yes, I see my shadow so differently now. How I feel what you're saying about the child. Yeah. Yeah. And so the shadow, the work here is really about, for me, like, to love that child, to accept her, and not to use that as another reason to beat myself up, another reason to abandon myself. Because that child in me, she needs me to hold her and love her and completely accept her. So that is the arc of what we've been talking here. Safety, being seen, and acceptance. And so for the nervous system, as we complete this arc and we accept some new aspect of ourselves that we haven't accepted before, something that has yeah, you're welcome, Emily. Something that has thrown us off, something that has caused us to abandon ourselves. Now our nervous system can feel safe alongside when that happens. And so we've created just a new little region in our lives where we are regulated. And that is what we keep doing. We keep sort of excavated the terrain of who we are, bringing more self-acceptance, bringing more self-kindness, which allows us to stay regulated, to stay okay even when certain things happen. And what that means is, when you enter a relationship with somebody who has the same kind of shadows as you, the same kind of triggers as you, when they talk about that, your nervous system doesn't automatically go into like, oh my God, yeah, that stuff is really bad. That stuff is really bad. Like, we should really not go there. No. And if you're entering any kind of healing conversation, your nervous system regulation really, really matters. So the more you excavate, the more you receive these places, the more you can stand very okay and in humor and in love with anybody else also. moving through their shadow material, because essentially that is what the healing work is. So whether you're doing Reiki, you're doing this at an energetic level all the time, right? You're connecting to divine love, and then you're bringing that divine love to the person's energy system. And what we often find is that there's zones that are blocks, right? There's zones that are not accepting this divine love. And what can often help is to help name them, help the person see them, help the person accept them. And the more you are in a really neutral, accepting place, the easier it is for you to do that. And the more drama-free everything happens. So all of that to say is you doing this work, whether you're somebody who's consciously working in the healing fields, or you're simply a human being in the world, either way, this is the work that it requires. This is what is needed for you to stop taking on other people's energy. That's it. This is what it is. Because we're constantly triggering each other into healing. And if you're just like one big button of triggers, wherever you go in the world, whoever you come into contact with is gonna kind of blow up the nervous system. And the only person who can reclaim that and kind of bring the love there and allow it in, even if the love is there, you need to allow it in, is you. Right? That is what needs to happen. So that was quite a long recap of the 3 elements, and they happen in the arc of a coaching session, of just a conversation between friends. You see things differently. You see different perspective, and the more your friend, if you're just talking with a friend, the more your friend thinks it's no big deal, the thing that you're all freaked out about, and loves you through it, and is like nonplussed by how ugly you think you are, the more it helps you say, okay, maybe it's not so bad. And this is what often happens with shame. Shame, when we're not sharing it with anybody, it feels like if somebody knew this, I would be rejected forever and ever and ever. And what often happens is we share it, and the person receiving it is like, holy shit, like that is so sweet and cute and beautiful that you feel that way. And I've had that experience, and it's totally okay, right? So you're seen, you're accepted, and now that shame became connection. And it's that work that I believe that if you are on the path of being an energy healer, this is your only real work. This is your only real work, to do that reclaiming of who you are, to become totally who you are, to be regulated in the face of whatever is shown at you. And then, of course, there's skill. There's a skill of holding people through. And for the Healing Presence course, we're going to look at that part as well in that special zone. But I'll come back to that. All right, because I could probably talk about this for hours and hours, let me move to the next thing I promised today. So how committing to keep unburdening your heart is a huge gift to the world. So I'm not saying here that you're going to unburden once and you're done forever. No. Your heart, if you're a big-hearted, mushy, sweet person, it is likely to get hurt and to feel pain. There are things happening in the world that are really heartbreaking. They just are. And the trick is to allow that to move through. It becomes burdened when we're just holding on to it and feeling really powerless about it. So keep engaging with the burdens that you have, to keep moving that flow, to keep taking responsibility for your energy system, for your heart flowing, for the love that is able to be transmuted and flowing through you, is an enormous gift to the world. So again, I'll use that same example of the child. As a child in school, there's one in particular school that I really remember doing this a lot. I don't think I talked a lot. I think I just like sat and watched everybody all the time. And I often tried to be really helpful, and I was accused of being a shin bush and all sorts of things. I really wasn't showing up as an individual. But people's pain, I could feel it. I think a lot of kids can feel people's pain. And I would really take it into my body, and I really felt powerless about it, because in a lot of ways I really was, right? And that was a burden. That was a burden. The pain in the world was a burden for me. And I mean, in a lot of ways, that is what set me on the path of becoming a healer, or at least engaging with healing work and helping people heal and helping people find the words for what's happening, etc. Like, that burden in me was transformed into something I like to think is positive. The burden, I know, for my husband, for instance, he really feels for animals a lot, and he volunteers in shelters and etc. And it allows him to unburden his heart a little bit, and to allow that to flow and to transform it into something good. So there's a way in which I believe, like, this world, what this world needs most right now is empathic people unburdening their hearts. That is the number one resource we have right now. It is the love that is in us, to build the structures, to build the world that we are building right now, whether we are conscious of it or not. Having kind, empathic people really engaged with what touches them and really connected to their power to do something about it is going to make a world that is infinitely better. And so I'm a little bit in a phase where I'm kind of looking around for leadership, and I'm realizing every single person is a leader of their own life. Every single person has the power to do the things that really touch them, and we need to step it up. Okay, Emily asked, it's burdening for a child because they see and feel deeper than the adult, yet have less power to do anything about it. Exactly. Well said. Yeah. And are you still a child? No, now you are an adult. And am I still a child? No, now I'm an adult. And that goes for all of us here. So we do have the power. And the only thing is that energetically, if it's unhealed, if it's unburdened, then it feels like we're still a child, and we are acting like we are still the child. And that can no longer stand. We have work to do, my friends. And you and your heart is one of the most precious resources on the planet right now. Okay, so the number one thing you need to do to embody a healing presence and make a healing impact in the world, assuming that you want your life to have a healing impact. You want to leave the world better than you found it by your actions. That doesn't mean it's all on you, because how could it? Of course it's not all on you. That's another child thinking. It's all on me. No, it's on all of us. And each of us has little things we can do. So the number one thing you can do is really to take back your power, to reclaim your nervous system, to unburden your heart. And all of that to say is just to take responsibility for your energy. That's the number one thing. Take responsibility for your energy. That is all you need to do. everything else flows from there. When you take responsibility of your energy, when you take responsibility of how you show up, when you take responsibility and you decide every moment to begin again, let the past be the past. Maybe you weren't showing up the way you wanted to show up in the past. Big deal. Now's another moment. And you take responsibility for it. And every single moment, you become just a little bit better. A little bit more whole. A little bit more integrated. A little bit more kind. A little bit more soft. A little bit more whatever it is that matters to you than you were before. And that is only possible when you take full responsibility for your energy and you engage with your healing work. I truly, truly, truly believe that the more each one of us does that, the more each one of us takes responsibility for our energy system, acts where we can act, together we can make an incredible change. Because what happens when I take my power back is I do lives like this. And I throw myself into an experience where I know I'm going to be triggered. I know I'm going to do it imperfectly. And I choose to show up again and again and again. This is my game. Your game is completely different. Your game might be to show up just a little bit more whole, more relaxed, more kind with your children. Your game might be to take responsibility for how you show up in the classroom if you're a teacher. And saying things in a certain different way, or preparing in a different way, or whatever it is that you need to do to take responsibility. And the children in the classroom benefit from this. The parents for the children benefit from this. Maybe your game is maybe you work in a big system, and the way you start showing up as a leader triggers all sorts of conversations around leadership in your organization, because the way you are leading is more effective, because it is more kind, and it is more humane, and it is more loving, and it is creating more results. And that way you change the world. And none of us can see, the nature of the game is that none of us can ever know how much we impacted. None of us can ever know that. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing, because if we did know, it would feel pretty heavy, pretty scary. But each of us really matters. Okay? Think about the person who thinks they don't matter. And that might be you, but uses that as an excuse to behave poorly because they think they don't matter. And look at the impact of their life. It's not true. We matter. We belong to each other. We are creating this world every single moment all together. Every single one of us matters. And so taking responsibility for your energy system and taking responsibility for yourself means you matter. It means showing up like you matter. It means showing up in a way where you can no longer ever abandon yourself. It's too important. You're too important. You cannot abandon yourself. So this is what I'm proposing in the Healing Presence course. This is real work. This is work of a lifetime. Many of you are already doing this. Most of you, in fact, are already engaged in this in one way or another, or you wouldn't be here. So let me just say that you really matter. I am so honored to be on the planet at the same time as somebody who is doing this work, taking responsibility for their energy, taking responsibility for their nervous system, and showing up. And there are a gazillion ways for you to do this. There are a gazillion. There is no one better way. How could there be? If there's 7 billion of us, there is a lot of different portals into this work of taking responsibility for your energy system and healing. Of course there are. And there's not one way that is better. There's one way that is best for you right now. And that is what you must do. If you already know what that is, stop watching right now and do the thing. Do the thing. And I am building a program that is built exactly for this this whole framework. If this whole framework until now, if you're watching and you're getting chills and you're like, whoa, this really makes sense for me, then you listen to what the Healing Presence course entails. It is the practices that for me have really, 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 really allowed me to stay engaged with this. There's more. This is sort of the precursor program to the Soft and True program. If you've done the Soft and True program with me, maybe you just restart that. Or this Healing Presence is kind of going into the foundations, going deep into the central tenets, what we need to embody, what we need to work on the daily. So I'm going to tell you what the structure of the program is first. And then I'm going to tell you the structure, like the content, what we're doing, module by module. Then I'm going to tell you 3 different ways to engage with it and their price points. All right, so ready? This mirrors exactly what we talked about these last 2 weeks or so. So it begins with a module I'm calling Begin Again. We always need to begin again. We begin again. We begin again. We begin again. Past don't matter. Future isn't here yet. We come back to the present moment and we begin again. So this is really about cultivating beginner's mind, curiosity. And then as we begin again, we are setting our intention to rewire. So to reclaim pieces of our energy that are stuck in blocks, that are stuck in loops, that are not giving us full access to who we really are and the power that is ours, the power to, the power with, never the power over. This is not that kind of power. We're not talking about that. So begin again. We're going to engage in rewiring. So this is where we're putting some practices in place to allow for that rewiring. The practices we are using are really based in mindfulness meditation with a very strong self-kindness twist. So we're putting that into place. It's kind of creating a baseline, creating a foundation for our nervous system to reclaim, to realign. There will be options, there will be different ways. Not everybody needs to meditate the same amount of time. Not everybody needs to sit down to meditate. There's different options. Next, we go into Discern. So this is where we're sitting in the middle of our lives and we are asking the question, what is actually mine here? What is mine is very much about where am I going to be applying my power? Where am I going to be doing my work? What can I let go of? Because somewhere where we get stuck very often as empathic people in particular is trying to fix other people's nervous systems or figure them out. When that is not our job, that is their job. Nervous systems, energy systems. And we spend an inordinate amount of energy there, and it is actually not that effective. So discerning is to be like, okay, clearing the mind, not in the kind of no thoughts kind of way, but kind of letting go of what is not yours and reapplying, grabbing your power back to where it is yours to act, yours to heal, yours to move. Once we're kind of centered, discerning, we deepen. So we really bring our attention to that zone in us that is running a little bit of amok, running haywire, we deepen, we listen, we really let go of the assumption that we already know. Because if something is like running crazy in our energy systems, if we have a symptom, a sensation that won't leave, if there's whatever's happening, there's only one assumption we can make, and that assumption is you don't actually already know what it's trying to tell you. So we deepen and we open and we question and we give ourselves the space. And this too, we'll have specific meditations to help you do this. Now, once we've deepened, once we're getting into contact with the part of us that is having a hard time, we stay. We cultivate staying power. We cultivate care. We cultivate essentially not abandoning ourselves. We don't abandon ourselves anymore. We stay. And now, the beautiful thing is when we do these things, as we deepen and stay, there's gifts. We can receive relief, we can receive awareness, we can receive understanding, we can receive love, there's so much we can receive. And then we integrate. So whatever we receive might come with an awareness of I need X, Y, Z. Or I can't keep letting this person go through my boundaries. It throws me off for months at a time. That is not possible to keep going like that. And we integrate and we take action. So if you've done the Soft and True program with me, which a lot of you have, this is really that inner peace. And then after we integrate, well, we begin again. There's a second module called Begin Again, because this is cyclical. This is cyclical. We begin again. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, this sounds familiar, especially if you don't work with me. Well, this is the arc of what usually happens in a session. And so we're teasing it out here in different modules because we're kind of setting the foundations so that by the end, this becomes an automatic. This becomes something you can do all the time. And that's why I'm constructing this program. It has to be one you can do over and 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 go access the meditations you need at the time you need them. Because what happens is that we arrive to another level, we're integrated in a new space, and then triggers happen again. Or our ambitions get bigger, or we're trying to do something, trying to use our power for good a little bit more. And we need to do this again. We need to rewire at another higher level. We need to discern, kind of clear what isn't ours. We need to deepen with what is. We need to stay with what is. We need to receive the new elements of our power and integrate it and put them into action. This is again and again and again and again. So, that's the program. That's the Healing Presence program. So where I'm at this moment, it's been 3 years that I've been building this program. Last live, I was unable to talk about pricing. I was unable to talk about what it is. I was unable, because I hadn't touched into my inner child yet. I hadn't done this work yet with my inner child. I knew she cared a lot, but she cared like way too much for me to actually talk about it. And the powerlessness was too big. So I've been working on this for 3 years. And this is the launch. So I'm building it alongside whoever chooses to join me. I'm creating a coupon code for everybody in this group as a thank you. It'll be, I haven't decided exactly what amounts it is, but that's coming to thank you. There's going to be a coupon code. And also, the self-study program is going to be available when you need it. So I'm talking to the part of you, your higher self right now, your higher self that knows what you need and can either choose. You can choose to wait till you're so triggered and so in need of something different that at that moment you come and find this program, you purchase it, and you do it. That is one option. Another option is you decide, I'm not waiting for the trigger. I'm not waiting for the moment that I'm down in the dumps to come and purchase this. I know I want to commit to this. I know I want to take full charge of my energy system, and I know I have a lot of tools already, and the way Inga's putting them together right now is making a lot of sense to me and is a way for me to use my other tools as well. So I'm in now. Okay, so your higher self has two different options here with the self-study. Now, I have noticed that doing this on our own is glorious and beautiful and strong. And I know there are many of you who are totally able to do the self-study thing. And I also know there's many of you who are craving to be held in community and to know that you're not alone doing this work, because it is so important to you. And it can get overwhelming and scary to do it on your own. So if that is you, I have two different options. One, if this is something that you're committing to the rest of your life because you are working in a healing capacity, whether you're an energy healer, social worker, a psychotherapist, massage therapist, acupuncturist, you work with clients one-on-one and you know that you get triggered by your clients. Of course you do. It's intimate work, and of course you do. And you know this is something that you need. And then I've got a special group for you for people who are embodying a healing presence as their profession. And you also want to do it for yourself. So that program includes 6 times 2 hours where we're going to really practice being a healing presence for each other and being super, super aware of where our nervous system flies away and does a thing. So that program is $720 Canadian, tax included. It includes 6 times 2 hour workshops. So these are probably going to be on Thursday nights, depending on how much interesting. What if you're heading to it as a profession? Yeah, that's super okay. That is absolutely. This is how you prepare. This is how you prepare. Yeah. If you're intending to go that direction, this is the one for you. Absolutely. Even if it's a side thing. If you're going to be working with people in a healing capacity, you owe them to really take full-on responsibility for your nervous system. So this is the program for you. If that is not your intention, and your intention right now is really just to take care of yourself and to be in community and be with other people also engaged in this work, because you know that hearing other people talk about their processes, that it is such a balm to the soul and so connecting. If you enjoyed the connection calls we had here, this is the program for you, the middle option. That one's $620. It has 6 times 90 minutes. So they're a bit shorter. We're going to be meditating together. We're going to be sharing. We're going to be just creating this cocoon together to be heard, to be seen, to be a healing presence to each other. So that is the second option. And then the self-study that I mentioned is really for you if you're ready to do this on your own. Maybe your budget is a bit more restricted. You don't have, I don't know, by the way, the connection calls one, I don't know when it will be. Let me know that you're interested, and I'm going to build a schedule based on that. So the self-study program is $280, tax included, Canadian. So just a little word on price. I wasn't able to say the prices until now because I had to do some inner clearing work. There was a bit of confusion in my energy system around, wait, am I saying this work is only valuable for $280? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. If I were pricing this work on how valuable it is, there's no point. There's just no point. Like this is your life kind of depends on this work. This is not the only way to do this work. Not at all. But how valuable it is? No. So, am I saying I am only worth this much money? No. I am fucking priceless. My energy, my attention, my intelligence. You can't put a price on that either. So what is this price? This price is a commitment. That's what this is. It's a commitment. It's you saying, I value this. But it is priced in such a way that I'm not asking you to say this is more important than paying my rent. Even if it is more, it can be more valuable than that. That is how I've priced this. And I ask you to honor that. I ask you to say, yes, I will pay these rates because it is a commitment. Yeah. So that felt like it needed to be said because there's weird things around money. Now, that said, not all of us are at the same capacity with money. So if you're feeling, holy shit, that is low, and I value this so much more and I want you to know it, well, you can pay me more. Sure. But I'm assuming the more common one is that is so valuable and it is so generous, and I don't need that you think it's generous. That is so not behind the point. If you're in this situation where you're like, I really want to make this commitment and it puts me in a really, 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 really tough financial spot, your commitment isn't wavering. It's really just the numbers in your bank account that aren't anywhere. There may be a way to apply for a scholarship. If that is you, come talk to me. There's not going to be many spots, but it's really important to me that this is accessible. That is what is important because this is how we change the world. And this is probably also key for you to make more money in meaningful ways. Great. So Emily says, if you're self-employed, this is a tax deduction for those wondering. Awesome. Yeah. Good. So I'm going to open the link. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, the modules, price points, and time investments. So the time investments, you're going to be having about 30 minutes to 1 hour of module of actual me talking every week. And you're going to have practices to do 6 times a week. Around 15 to 20 minutes is what I'm suggesting. But like I said, these are modifiable. Big time. And then depending if you choose the group options, there's the 90 minutes a week for 6 weeks or 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. Those are the time investments. So there we go. I'm going to be dropping the link at the top of this live. You can go and register. I haven't decided when I'm closing the doors, but I'm thinking this experience is ready to be closed. There's going to be a coupon for you that will be expiring on Thursday. So this experience and the coupon will be done on Thursday. So you need to make a decision by August 4th. Cool. If you've already made your decision, simply buy the thing. Give me a little bit of time to get you your welcome stuff, but just get it done, because making a decision is setting yourself up in the timeline of that commitment. Making the decision is the same as taking responsibility for your energy system. Okay, yeah, so that is it. I will be posting here about getting you into the program. If you have any questions, ask them. I'll be answering many questions online. But this is it. Thank you for joining me for the Unburdened Heart. And I expect to see many of you in Healing Presence. Bye.